Get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here with another Heavy Hockey post-game. We're going to just do a little quick recap of every hockey game here on the Heavy Hockey Network. Myself, Mike Dursa from Straight Off the Pipe, Dash in the Park from Straight Off the Pipe, and Josh from Tough Call Pod will give you a Heavy Hockey post-game every game. And then we'll also take a look at the game that's coming ahead. So in this case, tonight we're going to have a look at the 2-1 Edmonton Oilers over the San Jose Sharks win in overtime. Exciting way to finish the game. Great way to finish the game. And then maybe we'll chat a little bit about the Oilers and their upcoming game on Thursday in L.A. To finish that four-game series against the L.A. Kings. So first, let's start right off to start with what the good parts were about tonight's game. It was a tight checking game. I mean, LA had all the matchups tonight. Burns playing against McDavid most of the night and just getting in his face, doing everything right. In fact, that top line, if you look at the underlying numbers, had a terrible, terrible night. Not much time in the offensive zone and too much time in the defensive zone. But the Oilers pull out a gutty win, right? That's the good thing about that. It was, they stayed in it, 1-0 throughout the game. You don't score first. It's always a big thing with this Oilers squad, with any team, as a matter of fact. If you look at the stats, scoring first is so vital in this league. So the Oilers didn't score first, and they get a 2-1 win out of it. So great for them, a real gutsy win. Mike Smith. What can you say? He made some terrific saves tonight. He made one where he kicked out his pad, and I think everybody thought it was in. He made a couple where I was sure the puck was in. He got a couple of posts, but you got to be good to be lucky. Hey, we haven't expected a ton from Mike Smith in recent weeks, so that was a good one. And he battled through injury. It was quite clear his right leg had something wrong with it on after the one play. And he does that. There's about like a minute and a half left in the game. Goes into OT, and then he does that beauty to McDavid for the overtime winner. I mean, what more can you ask for, right? Mike Smith was all over it tonight and had his name all over this game. Great game. The other thing, good from tonight, McDavid, despite having such a rough game throughout the game, continues his point streak. I mean, that's the guy you want to have the puck on a breakaway, him or Draisaitl. And so I think 14 games now for McDavid, which is all right. Yeah, love that. And then I'm missing the most obvious. The Oilers move up to second place in the Pacific Division. I was talking pregame on the Oilers Live podcast how important I thought this was mentally for the team, right? You're writing your own ticket. This is all about writing your own ticket, and the Oilers needed to do that. They needed to. They've had, 3-4 chances to get into second place in this division, and tonight they had to do it, and they did. And so, good on them. Here's the bad from tonight, because, I don't believe you can't critique a win. I think you need to learn something. Maybe you don't critique the win, but you take some things that you need to learn, and here's a couple of those things. Some of them are not learning moments, but just sort of observations. Draisaitl out. I mean, that's... I actually, if tonight doesn't show you, or if the San Jose game didn't show you what Draisaitl means to this team, then you're not watching. This is it's all about matchups when you're on the road, and Draisaitl does something that nobody else does. He protects the rest of the lineup, right? You can't play Burns every shift. And so Draisaitl starts rocking. You got to maybe put Burns out there against Draisaitl instead, and then the McDavid line starts rocking. And clearly the power play was lost without him. And you know what? I mean, because I'm not in that camp, but a lot of Oilers fans complain about his giveaways. But man, the guy he does all of the things in the game. He does the PK, he does the power play, 5-on-5. He does everything, and to take that kind of out. You take a top D-line man out, and you talk about the minutes lost. You got to do the same for Draisaitl. I mean, it's minutes lost with this guy, and just not having him in the lineup made a big difference. But still, Oilers got to win. They got it out to win. Kassian, man, I don't know. The guy has got to get some spark going, but the puck's dying on his stick. His numbers weren't bad tonight, but that line, and any line he goes on, typically, is just not there. Just doesn't do well, right? And so, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is he's got a contract that says he should be a second or a third line guy, if not a first line guy. And he's not, and he's playing, fourth line minutes, if not healthy scratch type of territory. So Kassian's, and there needs to be some work there, and I hope Woodcroft can find that. And I hope he can find it in time for the playoffs. I mean, he was huge last playoffs, huge. So we need to get Kassian going. Puljujarvi, wow, hey, he's had a couple of great nights, and then, I don't know, he was just off last night against San Jose. He just couldn't get it done. Didn't seem to have the finish. Did a few things well, but didn't have the finish last night. So he had the puck on his stick, couldn't get the shot off. I think it would have been a different game if he had been on his game last night. McDavid was seeming to find him. Hopefully, that doesn't translate to the LA game on Thursday, but we'll see. Other thing, I think that, Edmonton gave up too many really sort of high danger chances against San Jose. I don't think they're a team that, you have to give that many up to. And I think the reason was the San Jose speed just seemed to, I don't know how, but it caught Edmonton off guard. Going down the wing, like they were constantly beating our guys and getting some great chances. I don't know what to say, but this I talked about it on a pod, and this defense just seems to lack consistency. Right, when they're playing well, they play well, but they'll have these bouts, 5-10 minute bouts. In this game, it was from the end of the second period, or start of the second period until about 5 to 10 minutes into the third period. The team was leaking chances and didn't look great. So, highlights, best line of the night was McLeod and Fogle, I thought, and Ryan. They did really great. Worst period, second period and halfway through to the third, as I talked about. Barrie and Kulak. I didn't put that in the good. That should be in the good. Those guys, back-to-back great games. Wonderful games on the defensive side of the puck. Also adding into the offense, important. And then, again, can't stress enough Draisaitl, how important he is to have in the lineup. Okay, let's quickly talk about this upcoming Los Angeles Kings game on Thursday night in L.A. Oilers have had now 6 games in a row going into L.A. They're sitting in second place, as we know, against in L.A. is now 1 point behind Edmonton, and Edmonton's still got a game in hand, so pretty big deal. The series is 2-1 for Edmonton, although the last one was won in a shootout. So I think to really sort of firmly put this one away, they need to win this one. They can't, can't be any points given. First game was 5-1, and then the Woodcroft era showed up, and Edmonton's won ever since. 5-2 that game. It was part of their big 5-game win streak. And then, of course, the last game was the shootout with McDavid with the really nasty shootout goal. And the team pulled that one out. I'm going to guess the Kings started Peterson against the Flames on Monday night. So I'm going to guess that Quick's going to get the net as well as Koskinen gets the net in L.A. If John Shannon is to be believed, and I think he's a pretty good insider to believe, Draisaitl should be back in for the Thursday game, an important one for Edmonton as they try to solidify that second place and home ice advantage in the playoffs as we come down the stretch. Oilers have 11 games remaining, 6 home, 5 away, and Los Angeles Kings have 10, 4 home, 6 away. This is one of their home games. The biggest difference, though, I would say, is in the Oilers' case, a lot of those games are what we'd call quality teams over 500. And in LA's case, half those teams, in fact, their final 5 in that stretch are all teams below 500, below them in the standings. Teams they are expected to win. So the Oilers really need to gut this one out and get a bit of a lead. And I expect them to come out flying, especially after the emotional win last night in San Jose. So this one should be a good one. I mean, you're going to tune in Thursday. It's it's on the Pacific Coast, so it's going to be a late one for Oilers fans. And for those of us all the way out on the East Coast, it's going to be really late, but happy to tune in, as I always do. The post-game for that one is going to be done by Mike Dursa. So he's going to do the post-game for the Heavy Hockey post-game. Other storylines that you might want to watch. I mean, who's going to be in? Who's going to be out? I think in the San Jose game, if you look at the minutes, and that McLeod, Fogle, and Ryan line was excellent. McLeod has just been, he's been a revelation this year. He's so responsible with the puck. There's so many good things about him. I just think there's no way you can take him out. Cassian, would be my bet, and Shore also would be another guy that, and in fairness to Shore, I don't think he's played awful. I just think, he hasn't played enough. Cassian, on the other hand, has played enough, and he's played awful. So Cassian would be my go, but that's not. I just haven't seen it to be likely, and I think this is a case of, contract dictates play. And so we'll see what happens there. But he's, he didn't get, if I go on the minutes for last game, he played 9 minutes last game. It's not an expensive 9 minutes for the Oilers, but, the contracts we have on this team aren't great. And guys are filling in. So we want to make it 7 games in a row. The Oilers do. Going into L.A., big matchup, Koskinen in. What else can I tell you? I mean, this... initially, the first 2 games were both road wins for each team. Edmonton's been having trouble on the road. I thought, the San Jose game last night was no different. Road win trouble. The matchups, you don't get necessarily the matchups you want. Scoring first with both of these teams is absolutely pinnacle. As I mentioned in the San Jose game, I mean, they scored first, and the Oilers still got the win. I'd like to see kind of a bounce-back game from that McDavid line. They were leaking chances all night and really not getting any in the offensive zone. But as I said, I think if Draisaitl's back in the lineup, that changes that up a little bit. So here we are down the home stretch. 10 games, less than a dozen games left. 11 for L.A., 10 for Edmonton, and second place on the line. This is it. The Oilers are getting hot at the right time. So tune in for the Heavy Hockey postgame after the L.A. Kings game on Thursday. Happens in L.A. 8:30 Mountain start, I believe. And you will get Mike Dursa for that one. And then the Oilers come back home for one. They play Colorado on Saturday. That's going to be a tough match, but it'd be nice if they could roll into that Colorado game on a win streak. Because they got this is actually going to be the toughest stretch here. And LA is I mean, when you look at the stretch of games, this is so important for the Oilers right now. They got Colorado coming up on Saturday. Then they're in Minnesota. Then they're in Nashville. We're talking playoff teams. And then they're playing Vegas, who, is on a bit of a tear. And then Dallas, and then Colorado. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really difficult games. 5 games that, if you're not playing your best, you could easily go 0-5. Then they go Columbus, Pittsburgh, San Jose, and Vancouver, those final 4. I mean, Pittsburgh, you just never know. So this is not an easy stretch for them. Every game matters at this point. So we'll see. I kind of think that Smith is going to be announced to be out. We'll see. He did play through it, but I just don't think he played that well at the end there. I think he looked well. I mean, he played well, but he didn't look like he was well. So we're going to see what happens there. That's been your Heavy Hockey postgame. Tune in to youtube.ca/Heavy Hockey every day for the Heavy Hockey postgame. Make sure you check out bet99.net. And when you sign up, you can get up to a $600 deposit match if you use the code Heavy Hockey. If you use any other code, I think it's $500, but we got you $600, so use that and check out Bet99. Outside of that, come here every day for postgame. Have a great night. I'm out.